Before we continue, please drop a comment and let me know what city or state you're listening from. I'm always curious to know where our listeners are. Enjoy the story. Clara was happy. Quietly, cautiously happy. For 5 years, she and her husband had been through the emotional wringer of infertility treatments. When she finally got pregnant, they bought a spacious 2-bedroom condo in a new development, perfect for the nursery she'd always dreamed of. But a month before her due date, her mother-in-law, Tamara, fell suddenly ill and asked to stay for a week until she felt better. Clara, pitying the frail old woman, agreed. That was her first mistake. Returning early from an ultrasound, she walked in to find Tamara tearing down the designer teddy bear wallpaper in the nursery while ordering movers to haul the baby's crib to the dumpster. But that wasn't the most horrifying part. The most horrifying part was what stood in the corner and what she heard from her own husband. Clara stroked her round belly, now in its 36th week, and watched her husband, Andrew, assemble a white dresser. "Careful, Drew. That drawer has a soft close mechanism." She smiled. "Clara, am I an engineer or not? I got this." Andrew wiped sweat from his forehead. "Listen, did we really have to get such an expensive one from Pottery Barn? We could have found something cheaper. It's for our baby." Clara frowned. "We saved for this for 3 years. I want him to have the best. Besides, I put my whole bonus toward it." Clara was a lead architect at a prestigious firm. Even on maternity leave, she was still taking on freelance projects from home. The condo, a modern unit in a new high-rise, was purchased mainly with her savings and a mortgage she was paying down ahead of schedule. Andrew's salary as a sales manager was average, but it never bothered Clara. What mattered was that he was kind, caring, and loved his mother dearly. His mother, Tamara, lived on the other side of the city in a small, run-down apartment. Their relationship was strained. Tamara considered Clara a snobby career woman because Clara didn't know how to bake from scratch and hired a cleaning service. "Must be nice having money to burn," Tamara would hiss. "You could clean your own floors. You're not royalty." "Tamara, 1 hour of my work pays for the entire cleaning service," Clara would reply calmly. The phone call came that evening. Andrew's face went pale as he spoke, and he sank onto the sofa. "What is it?" "It's Mom. She's not feeling well. Says she's having chest pains. The paramedics said it was a pre-heart attack condition. She can't be alone." "Oh my God," Clara said, alarmed. "Shouldn't she be in the hospital?" She refused. "She's terrified of hospitals." Andrew looked at his wife with pleading, puppy dog eyes. "Clara, can she stay with us? Just for a little while, a week or 2, until this passes. I'll look after her." Clara glanced at her belly, then at the half-finished nursery. She craved peace, the quiet nesting period before the baby arrived. But turning away her husband's sick mother felt inhuman. "Of course, let her come. But Andrew, you know we're short on space. She'll have to sleep on the sofa bed in the living room." "Yes, of course." "She'll be quiet, she won't be any trouble." Tamara arrived the next day. She didn't look like she was at death's door. Her cheeks were rosy, her movements energetic, and she arrived with 3 enormous suitcases. "Oh, Clara, thank you for taking in an old woman," she announced loudly, dragging her dirty bags across the new lightwood floors. "I was afraid I'd die alone in that apartment, with no one to even bring me a glass of water." She scanned the condo. "Well, your decor is a bit sterile. White walls? It's like a hospital. And they show every speck of dust." Clara said nothing. Hell had begun. The quiet mother-in-law was omnipresent. She was up at 6 a.m., clanging pots and pans. "Clara, why are you starving my son? A man needs meat, and you give him granola." I fried up some bacon and sausage for him. The smell of grease and burnt onions filled the apartment, making the pregnant Clara nauseous. She would walk into the bathroom while Clara was showering. "Oh, just grabbing a towel. Don't be shy, we're both women. By the way, you have stretch marks on your belly. You need to be using cocoa butter, or Andrew will lose interest." But the worst began a week later. Clara noticed Andrew had become anxious and secretive. He was constantly whispering with his mother in the kitchen, and they would fall silent the moment Clara walked in. "What are you two whispering about?" "Oh, just her medications," Andrew would lie, avoiding her eyes. Tamara started criticizing the baby items. Why did you buy a stroller for $1,500? Are you insane? You could have gotten one on Facebook Marketplace for $100. It's our money, Tamara. Your money is the family's money, and the family is struggling right now. Andrew's car needs repairs, and you're wasting money on designer junk. The baby won't know the difference. One day, Clara couldn't take it anymore. She was working on her laptop in the bedroom when the door opened without a knock. It was Tamara. Clara, we need to talk. I'm working, Tamara. Work can wait. Listen. The doctor said I need rest in my own room. The sofa is killing my back. Clara tensed. So I was thinking, why do you need a nursery right now? The baby will sleep in your room for the first few years anyway. You can give me that small room. I'll get settled in there. Clara closed her laptop. Her hands began to tremble. Tamara, that's the nursery. The crib is in there. The dresser. The wallpaper is up. So what? Wallpaper can be changed. You can sell the crib or cram it into your bedroom. I need my own space. I'm a mother. I raised Andrew. Don't I deserve a room in my old age? No, Clara said firmly. That room is for my son. End of story. Tamara pursed her lips, said nothing, and walked out. That evening, Clara complained to her husband. Andrew, your mother is demanding the nursery. You have to explain to her that it's not possible. Andrew fidgeted. Well, Clara, she kind of has a point. The baby will be with us, and the room will be empty. It's not empty. It has his things. It's his space. Andrew, are you taking her side? I'm on the side of peace. Mom is sick. She shouldn't be stressed. Let her stay there for a year. Then she'll move out. A year? You said a week. Well, I can't just kick her out, can I? Clara realized then that her husband was not her protector. He was a mama's boy, terrified of saying no. The next day, Clara had an appointment for an ultrasound and a non-stress test. I'll be back in about 4 hours, she said. Andrew, please make sure your mom doesn't touch anything in the nursery. I just organized all the clothes by color. Of course, honey. Don't worry. At the clinic, everything went quickly. The doctor said the baby was big and healthy, but Clara needed to rest. Your uterine tone is high. You need to stress less. Clara was finished 2 hours earlier than expected. On the way home, she bought some pastries, hoping to smooth over the conflict. As she approached her apartment door, she heard a strange noise, the sound of furniture being moved and tape being ripped. She quietly opened the door with her key. The entryway was filled with unfamiliar, grimy cardboard boxes tied with twine. On one, someone had scrawled dishes, crystal, etc. in marker. Clara walked down the hall. The nursery door was wide open. In the middle of the room stood 2 movers, disassembling the designer dresser, the one with the soft close drawers. The crib was already taken apart and leaning against the wall, wrapped in plastic. And Tamara, standing on a step stool, surprisingly nimble for a dying woman, was viciously tearing the designer teddy bear wallpaper from the walls. Rip it! Rip it all down! She commanded the movers. This junk goes to the dumpster. Or maybe sell it. We'll put my sectional sofa here. It's wide and comfortable. Clara froze. She couldn't breathe. Her stomach tightened into a hard knot. What is going on here? She whispered. Her mother-in-law turned around. There wasn't a hint of embarrassment on her face, only triumph. Oh, you're back. We're redecorating. Surprise. Surprise? Clara stepped into the room. What are you doing to the nursery? Where is Andrew? Andrew's in the kitchen having some tea. Tamara waved a dismissive hand. Don't bother the men while they're working. We've decided this will be my bedroom. I'm the lady of the house now. You and your belly can squeeze into the living room. Or go back to your parents if you don't like it. Clara rushed to the kitchen. Andrew was sitting at the table, staring at his phone. In front of him was a cup of tea and a sandwich made with the expensive deli meat Clara had bought for her high-protein diet. The same meat Tamara had called a waste of money. Andrew! Clara screamed. Did you see? They're destroying the nursery. They're tearing down the wallpaper. Andrew slowly looked up. He looked guilty but defiant. Clara, don't yell. It's bad for you. Mom and I talked it over and decided, who is we? This is my apartment. I pay the mortgage. It's a marital asset, Clara, bought while we were married. And Mom, she sold her apartment. Clara froze. What? She sold her apartment yesterday. She gave me the money to start a business and to pay off some of my debts. Now she has nowhere to live. I added her to our lease this morning. Clara's world collapsed. You put her on the lease without my consent? As a resident, I have the right to add a close relative, Andrew snapped. And we needed the money. I wrecked my car a month ago. You didn't know. I had to take out a loan. Mom saved me, so she has a right to live here. This is her home now, too. Tamara walked into the kitchen, wiping wallpaper glue from her hands. Exactly. I invested over $50,000 into this family, so make room, sweetie. And besides, she looked at Clara's belly with undisguised malice. Who knows who the father is anyway? Andrew is sterile. He had the mumps as a child, so that baby is yours, not ours. When it's born, we'll get a DNA test. Until then, get out of my room. I need to hang my curtains. Clara looked at her husband. He was silent. He just kept chewing his sandwich, staring at the table. He had betrayed her. He had let his mother sell her home to cover his secret debts. He had allowed her to destroy their baby's room, and he had allowed her to insult their unborn child. Clara felt a warm gush of liquid run down her legs. Her water had broken. The stress had sent her into premature labor. Andrew, she whispered, clutching her stomach. Call 911. Oh, stop the drama, Tamara snorted. Such an actress, always craving attention. You can get yourself there. You're not royalty. Andrew didn't even get up. Clara, doubled over in pain, stumbled to the hallway, grabbed her hospital bag, and with trembling hands, called an Uber. As she was leaving, she heard Tamara's voice. Good riddance. Andrew. Honey, call the movers and tell them to bring up my china cabinet. The birth was an ordeal. Due to the stress and a placental abruption caused by severe emotional distress, the doctors said Clara needed an emergency C-section. She lost a lot of blood. When she woke up in the recovery room, her first feeling was panic. Where is the baby? A nurse changing her IV drip reassured her. Your little boy is alive. 4 pounds, 10 ounces. He's small, but he's a fighter. He's in the NICU, breathing on his own. You need to rest. Clara exhaled. He's alive. She reached for her phone on the nightstand. The screen was black. Dead battery. She borrowed a charger from the woman in the next bed. When it turned on, she had 10 missed calls from her mother, who lived in another state and was worried sick. And not a single one from Andrew. Just one text message, sent 3 hours ago. Mom told me you gave birth. Congrats. Text me when you're discharged. I'm swamped at work. Can't come yet. Mom's heart is acting up after your little concert. Clara read the words and couldn't believe her eyes. She had almost died. Their son was in intensive care, and he was swamped at work. And again, Mom. She dialed his number. It rang for a long time. Hello? Andrew's voice was annoyed. In the background, she could hear the TV and laughter. Tamara's laughter. Andrew, I had the baby. It was a C-section. He's in the NICU. I know, Clara. Mom called the hospital for an update. Well, if he's in the NICU, he must be weak. I told you. You should have been taking vitamins instead of working so much. Andrew, what are you saying? Clara choked on a sob of disbelief. Are you coming? I need you to bring me things. Diapers. Clara, what diapers? I'm busy. Mom and I are putting up new wallpaper in that room. Since you freed it up, you're wallpapering the nursery while I'm here. It's Mom's bedroom now, Clara. Get over it. Look, I gotta go. The paste is drying. He hung up. Clara lay there, staring at the white ceiling, tears streaming down her cheeks and into her ears. She understood then. She was alone, completely alone. She no longer had a husband. She had an appendage to a manipulative mother. 3 days later, Clara was moved to a regular room. Visitors were allowed. Andrew came once, for 15 minutes. He didn't look like a happy new father. He looked like a man serving a sentence. He brought a bag of oranges, which he knew she was allergic to. So, show me the air, he grumbled, not even taking off his jacket. You can't see him. He's in an incubator. Andrew, we need to talk. Seriously. About what? Are you going to whine about the apartment again? About our family, Andrew. We can't go on like this. Your mother is destroying our lives. She took our baby's room. She insults me. And you say nothing. Andrew sighed, rolling his eyes. Clara, you're being selfish. Mom sold her only home to save me from jail. From what jail? You said it was a car loan. Well, not exactly. It's a complicated story. Don't worry about it. The point is, we owe her. End of discussion. Just then, his phone rang. He flinched, glanced at the screen, and declined the call. Who was that? Work. The boss. It rang again. Clara, I'm gonna step outside to take this. The reception is bad in here. He hurried out into the hallway, leaving his other phone, his personal one, the one he usually kept hidden on the nightstand. In his haste, he'd forgotten it. The call had clearly rattled him. Clara stared at the black smartphone. She knew the passcode. 1234. Andrew wasn't very original. She had never checked his phone before. She trusted him. But now, the words jail, complicated story, debts. She reached out a hand. Her heart was pounding so hard it sent a sharp pain through her incision. She unlocked it. She opened his text messages. The first chat was labeled Mommy. The second was DraftKings. The third was as soon as possible debt collectors. Clara opened the chat with his mother, and the world went dark. Yesterday, 9:30 p.m. Mommy, so, did that cow finally pop? Andrew, yeah. She had the baby. A preemie boy. Doctors say it's 50 over 50. Mommy, I hope he croaks. Fewer problems for us. We don't need that little leech. If he survives, we're demanding a DNA test. I'm sure he's not yours. You had the mumps as a kid, remember? Andrew. Mom, what if he is mine? It's a shame. Mommy, feel sorry for yourself. We're $50,000 in debt. If she files for child support now, we're finished. We need to drive her out of the condo. Let her run home to her parents in the sticks. Today, 10 a.m. Andrew. She's demanding the nursery back. Hysterical. Mommy, let her be hysterical. I already put a new lock on the door. I have the key. By the way, I found her little stash in that jewelry box. Gold earrings. I pawned them. We were short on the interest payment for the loan. Andrew, crap, Mom, she'll notice. Mommy, we'll just say she lost them or sold them herself. Who's going to believe her? She's got postpartum hormones. Her memory is shot. The main thing is to pressure her to sign her share of the condo over to you. Tell her it's temporary, for tax purposes. As soon as she signs, we file for divorce and throw her out. Clara read, and her hands grew cold. They hadn't just taken a room. They were planning to steal her home. They had sold her jewelry, a gift from her late grandmother. They had wished death upon her son. And Andrew, her Andrew, had written, "It's a shame, not about his son, but about himself." Clara backed out of the chat with his mom and opened the betting app. Bet lost. Your balance, negative $8,500. You have been credited a loss bonus of $2,000. Transaction history. Deposit, $8,000. Date of mom's apartment sale. Deposit, $3,000. Personal loan. Deposit, $800. Andrew's paycheck. It all clicked into place. There was no car accident, no financial crisis. Andrew was a gambling addict. He had lost everything. And his mother hadn't sold her apartment to save their family, but because her own condo was likely about to be seized for her son's debts, or she was in on it herself, hoping he'd win big. And now, these two parasites had attached themselves to her condo, to her salary. All they wanted was a resource. She and her child were just obstacles. Footsteps echoed in the hall. Andrew was coming back. Clara quickly put the phone back on the nightstand. The screen went dark. Andrew walked in, looking even more agitated. Okay, Clara, I have to go. The boss is on a rampage. Andrew. Clara looked at him. Now she didn't see her husband. She saw an enemy. What? Bring me the deed to the condo and my passport tomorrow. I need them for the birth certificate application. Oh, Clara, they're packed away somewhere. I won't be able to find them. Later. Find them, Andrew. Or I'm calling the police and reporting my documents stolen. What's wrong with you? He scowled. What police? The regular kind. Now go. I'm tired. When he left, Clara didn't cry. There was no time for tears. She called her father. Her dad, Frank, was a retired Army colonel, a tough, pragmatic, but fair man. He lived in another state, and Clara rarely burdened him with her problems, not wanting to worry him. Dad, hi. Clara Bear, congratulations on the grandson. How are you? Dad, Clara's voice broke. I need help. Book a flight, now. And bring Mom. What happened? Did Andrew hurt you? Worse, Dad. I'm being robbed, and they're trying to take my home. They wish death on your grandson, Leo. There was a heavy, thunderous silence on the line. I'm on my way, her father said curtly. Don't you be afraid. Lock yourself in that hospital room and don't let anyone in. I'll be there soon. 2 days later, Clara was discharged. The baby, Leo, had to stay in the NICU to gain more weight. You need to recover, Mom, the doctor said. We need you strong. Clara walked out to the hospital entrance. No one was there to meet her. Andrew had texted, Mom's sick again. I'm with her. Take a taxi. The key is under the doormat. I forgot mine at work. Under the doormat? Clara smirked. A black SUV pulled up to the curb. Frank got out gray-haired, fit, with eyes the color of steel. Dad! She threw herself into his arms. It's okay, sweetie. I'm here. Her mother got out next. Oh my God, you're so thin, her mom cried. Where's my grandson? In the hospital. But it's for the best. He can't go there. To that apartment. Let's go, her father said. Let's meet these squatters. I brought a couple of my old service buddies with me. They're in the car, just in case. They went up to her floor. Clara took the key from under the mat and opened the door. The smell of stale beer and fried fish hit her. The entryway was littered with strange shoes and grime. From the living room, once impeccably clean, came the sound of raucous laughter and clinking glasses. To the grandson! May he not make it! Roared Tamara's voice. Mom, quiet! Clara could show up, came Andrew's voice. She won't. They'll keep her for another week. Pour me another. Clara stepped into the apartment. Her father followed right behind her. They walked into the living room. It was a disaster. Tamara was slumped in Clara's favorite armchair, her feet propped up on the coffee table. Next to her, Andrew held a bottle of cheap vodka. The floor was covered in pizza boxes and cigarette butts. They were smoking inside the apartment. The wallpaper in the hallway had been stripped. The nursery was gone. The door was nailed shut with a heavy padlock hanging from it. Seeing Clara, Andrew dropped his glass. Clara, you're early. Tamara hiccuped, but quickly composed herself. Oh, look who's here. We're just disinfecting the place from all those hospital germs. I see that, Frank said, stepping out from behind his daughter. His voice cracked like a gunshot. Tamara choked. Andrew shrank into the sofa. And who's this? The mother-in-law shrieked. Clara, did you bring your lover to my house? My house? Frank repeated. He walked to the table, picked up the vodka bottle, uncorked it, and slowly poured its contents over Andrew's head. Dad, don't! Andrew yelped, shielding himself with his hands. I have to, son, I have to, the colonel said calmly. All right, homeowners, you have 5 minutes. For what? Tamara hissed. To evacuate. Your time starts now. He pulled a stopwatch from his pocket. If you are still here in 5 minutes, I will throw you and your junk out the window. You have no right, Tamara screamed, jumping up. I have residency here. This is my son. We'll call the police. Call them, Frank nodded. And in the meantime, I'll call the DA's office and tell them how you, ma'am, committed fraud by selling a property to cover your gambling addict son's debts and are now engaged in extortion. He turned to Clara. Honey, go to the kitchen. You don't need to see this. We're just taking out the trash. Clara left. From the living room, she heard a crash, screams, Tamara's profanity, and Andrew's whimpering. 3 minutes later, the apartment door flew open. Suitcases were hurled onto the landing. Andrew followed, literally kicked out by a military-grade boot. Behind him, screaming and clawing at the doorframe, tumbled Tamara. I'll sue you! I'm a resident here! You're nobody, Frank said, standing in the doorway. Residency isn't ownership, but your son's debts to his bookies. That's an interesting story. By the way, I found them. Serious people. They're very interested to know where Andrew is hiding. Maybe I should give them your new address. Under a bridge? He slammed the door shut. It was quiet in the apartment. The only sound was Andrew wailing on the other side of the door, blaming his mother for ruining everything. Clara came out of the kitchen. She walked to the boarded-up door of the nursery. "Dad, it's padlocked. We'll open it." Her father pulled a crowbar from a toolbox he'd brought with him. With a loud crack, he tore the lock off. The door swung open. The room was empty. No baby furniture, no wallpaper. The floor was littered with empty boxes, old rags, and photos of Clara. All of her photos had been cut up with scissors. The eyes poked out. This wasn't just spite. This was pure hatred. "It's okay, honey," her father said, hugging her. "We'll wash the walls, put up new wallpaper. The main thing is, the rats are gone." "Dad, they sold my earrings. We'll buy you new ones. Better ones. And I'll get that money back from Andrew either through the courts or through his kidneys." Clara pressed against her father. For the first time in a month, she felt safe. "Thank you, Dad. Nothing to thank me for, sweetie. We don't abandon our own. Now, let's have some tea and figure out how we're going to welcome my grandson home. I saw a stroller at the store, built like a tank. We're getting it." The first night in her liberated apartment was restless. Clara couldn't sleep. Every creak made her think a key was turning in the lock, that she could hear Tamara's mocking laugh through the wall. Her father, Frank, slept on the living room sofa, which they had to scrub with bleach to remove the stains of cheap wine and ash. On the end table next to him wasn't a book, but his licensed handgun, just in case. In the morning, they began a massive cleanup. They hauled out 10 bags of trash, bottles, pizza boxes, and the dirty laundry Tamara had left behind in the bathroom. While Clara was washing the floor in the former nursery, now just an empty room with stripped walls, she found a folded piece of paper under the baseboard. It was a pawnshop receipt. Pledged items: gold earrings with diamonds, 1 woman's gold wedding band, 1 gold chain. Loan amount: $1,200. Date: yesterday. Clara sank to the floor. Her wedding ring. She had taken it off before going to the hospital because her fingers were swollen, and put it in her jewelry box. Andrew had stolen it. He had pawned the symbol of their marriage to buy vodka and pizza for his mother. "Dad!" she called out quietly. Frank came in, wiping his hands, and took the receipt. "Symbolic," he said grimly. "Well, honey, now we have legal grounds to file a police report for theft. This isn't a family squabble anymore. This is larceny." "Dad, I need to check my credit report," Clara said suddenly. "If he stole my ring, what if he took out loans in my name?" "My passport was in the nightstand. Check it right now." Clara logged into her credit monitoring service and requested her full report. The file arrived in a minute. She opened it and felt the blood drain from her face. The list was long. Speedy cash, $800. Delinquent. CashNet USA, $500. Easy Money, $1,200. And on and on. In total, she had nearly $7,000 in high-interest payday loans taken out in her name. All of them were done online in the last week, while she was in the hospital. Andrew had used her social security number and personal information. $7,000, Clara whispered. "Dad, I'm in debt. With the interest rates, it'll be double that in a month." Frank took the phone. His face turned to stone. "This is a felony, Clara. This is identity theft and loan fraud. He applied for these without your knowledge. But how can I prove it? It was all online. IP address. Geolocation. You were in a hospital, in a recovery room. We have medical records. The logins to these accounts came from this apartment, where he was sitting. We're going to the police. Today. First, to Leo," Clara said, getting up. "I need to see my son." "I'm scared, Dad. What if they go there?" At the hospital's neonatal intensive care unit, Clara was allowed to see the incubator. Leo was asleep, a tiny form tangled in wires. He was so small, so helpless. Clara cried, looking at him through the glass. "I'm so sorry, my son. I'm sorry I chose a man like that to be your father." Leaving the unit, she stopped at the nurse's station. "Oh, Miss Davis," the nurse said. "You're, the baby's father was here earlier. He was trying to force his way in to see the baby." Clara went cold. "Andrew? Did you let him in?" "Of course not. He appeared to be intoxicated and was very aggressive, yelling that he had a right, that he wanted to make sure the baby was alive. We had to call security to remove him." "What else did he say?" "He was making threats. Said if you didn't come out, He'd file a report that you'd abandoned the baby. And he was with some older woman, a very loud one. She was screaming that you were a surrogate and had stolen their genetic material. Clara walked out to the entrance, where her father was waiting in the car. He hadn't gone far. Dad, they were here. They're trying to get to Leo. They won't get to him. I've already spoken with the hospital administrator. They've posted a guard. And I've hired a private investigator. Clara, we need to know where these rats are holed up. Why? To launch a preemptive strike. Meanwhile, Andrew and Tamara were in a cheap motel on the outskirts of the city. The room smelled of stale smoke and despair. This is all your fault, Andrew hissed from the lumpy bed. Sell the apartment, sell the apartment. Well, we sold it. And where are we now? Homeless. Don't you dare raise your voice to your mother, Tamara shot back from the other bed. It's you damn gambler. If it wasn't for your betting, we'd be living like decent people. Shut up. What are we going to do? The debt collectors are calling every 5 minutes. They know about Clara's condo. They're going to go there. Let them, his mother sneered. Let them scare her a little. Maybe she'll be more cooperative. Mom, her father is there. A colonel. He'll shoot them, and then he'll find me. He won't find you. Listen to my plan. Tamara sat up, fixing her messy hair. We're going to Child Protective Services and the police. We file a report that Clara's father assaulted us and threw us out on the street, that he threatened us with a gun, and that Clara is unstable, postpartum depression, a danger to the child. We'll demand custody of our grandson. Mom, you said he wasn't mine, that we needed a DNA test. You are such a fool, Andrew. The child is leverage. He means child support. He means the right to live in the child's residence until he's 18. If we win custody, we'll get back into that condo legally and kick that old soldier out. Andrew thought about it. The plan was vile, disgusting, but it was a lifeline. What if they don't believe us? They'll believe us. I'll draw some bruises on myself, and you'll say he hit you on the head, which is why you can't remember where the money went. Let's go. That evening, at Clara's condo, the doorbell rang. Frank looked through the peephole. A uniformed police officer and a woman in a business suit stood on the mat. Open up, police. We have a report of domestic violence and an endangered infant. Frank opened the door. Good evening, mister? The young officer asked, eyeing the colonel's powerful frame nervously. Frank Davis. We have a complaint filed by a Miss Tamara Reed. She alleges you caused her bodily harm, made death threats, threw her out of her home barefoot, and are holding your daughter hostage. Clara came out of the kitchen. Hostage? I'm with Child Protective Services, the woman said, her eyes scanning the clean, quiet apartment. There were no signs of a struggle. Miss Davis, are you all right? We were told you are in an unstable condition and are neglecting your child. My child is in the NICU at the city hospital, Clara said quietly. I was just discharged yesterday. As for Miss Reed and my husband, they are the ones who destroyed my nursery, sold my belongings, and took out fraudulent loans in my name. She showed the CPS worker the printout from her credit report. This is $7,000 in identity theft. We're filing a report with the district attorney tomorrow. The officer scratched his head. Okay, the picture is getting clearer, so this is likely a false report. Precisely, Frank nodded. Officer, I have security cameras in the hallway, and I installed a video doorbell yesterday. I can show you the footage of them flying out of here. No one touched them. I simply evicted them. They had all their luggage. He played the video on his phone. It clearly showed Andrew and Tamara running out of the apartment with their suitcases, shouting curses. No signs of assault. Understood, the officer sighed. We'll be closing this complaint against you and opening one against them for filing a false report. And we'll take your statement on the fraud. But be warned. They seem determined. Your mother-in-law put on quite a show at the CPS office, fainted and everything. She's demanding they revoke your parental rights. After the police left, Clara sank onto the sofa, trembling. Dad, they want to take Leo. They won't. They have no home, no jobs, only debt. No court in this country would give them a child. But they are going to make our lives miserable for a while. Frank poured his daughter a cup of tea. Clara, we need to expedite the divorce and terminate Andrew's parental rights. We have grounds: endangerment, destruction of the nursery, theft of funds, fraud, and his gambling addiction. I've already contacted a lawyer. We file tomorrow. Night. The motel. Andrew couldn't sleep. He got a text from the debt collector. Time's up, Andrew. You didn't pay. We know where your wife lives. We know she's home. If we don't have $10,000 by noon tomorrow, we're paying her a visit. And we're not bringing flowers. A cold sweat broke out on Andrew's skin. $10,000. That was just the interest. He looked at his sleeping mother. She snored, sprawled on the dirty pillow. She had no money. He had no money. But Clara did. He remembered a secret stash. A long time ago, he'd hidden his grandmother's ruby ring behind a vent in the bathroom. A ring Clara thought she had lost. It was worth a couple of thousand, at least. Not enough, but it might buy him some time. He had to get into the apartment, but the colonel was there. Andrew got up, went outside, and called a couple of buddies, fellow gambling addicts. Guys, I've got a job. Need to break into a condo. There's a safe inside. The owner's an old guy. No threat. We split the take. His friends, two lowlifes named Alex and Mike, agreed for a fix and some beer money. 3 a.m. Clara woke up to a strange sound, the scraping of metal at the front door. She jumped up, grabbing her robe. "Dad!" she whispered. Frank was already awake. He was standing in the hallway in his boxers and a t-shirt, holding his handgun. "Quiet, honey. Go to the bedroom and lock the door." "Who is it?" "Uninvited guests." The lock clicked. The cheap, builder-grade door they hadn't had time to replace gave way. 3 men in ski masks burst into the apartment. "Where's the money?" "The first one, Alex," yelled, swinging a baseball bat. Andrew, his face hidden by a beanie with eye holes cut out, darted toward the bathroom to get the ring. Frank didn't negotiate. A single, deafening shot rang out. The bullet hit Alex in the thigh. He screamed and collapsed, dropping the bat. The second intruder, Mike, lunged at the colonel with a knife. Despite his age, Frank moved with professional precision. He deflected the knife, kneed the man in the gut, and threw him against the wall. Mike slumped to the floor, unconscious. Hearing the gunshot and the crash, Andrew ran out of the bathroom, clutching the ring. He saw Clara's father pointing the gun directly at his forehead, and his 2 accomplices writhing on the floor. "Take off the mask," the colonel said quietly. Andrew froze. "Take it off, or the next one goes in your knee. You'll be a cripple for life." With trembling hands, Andrew pulled off the beanie. Clara came out of the bedroom and flipped on the light. She saw her husband, holding her grandmother's ring, in the company of armed robbers. "Andrew," she breathed. You brought criminals here to rob me?" "Clara, it's not what it looks like. I just wanted to get my ring. That's my grandmother's ring. You stole it a year ago, while I was crying and searching the whole house for it." Andrew fell to his knees. "Clara, I have debts. They're going to kill me. Just give me the ring, what do you care?" "Care?" Frank walked up to his son-in-law. A short, hard right hook connected with Andrew's jaw. He collapsed next to his partners. "An officer has his honor, Andrew." The colonel pulled out his phone. 911. "What's your emergency?" "This is Colonel Frank Davis. I have a home invasion. Armed robbery in progress. 3 suspects are subdued. One of them is my son-in-law. Send a squad car and an ambulance for these gentlemen." Clara looked at her husband's body, sprawled on the floor. Blood dripped from his broken nose onto the very laminate flooring he had once installed with his own hands. It was all over. The love, the hope, the family. All that was left was a felony charge. Aggravated robbery. 5 to 15 years. She walked over to him, pried his fingers open, and took the ring. "This is mine," she said. "And what's yours now is prison." The morning after the home invasion was gray and rainy. In the apartment, which still faintly smelled of gunpowder, a crime scene unit was at work. Clara sat at the kitchen table, wrapped in a blanket, shaking from the adrenaline come down. Frank was giving his statement to a detective. "Yes, I used my personal firearm. It's registered. I acted within the bounds of self-defense. 3 masked individuals, armed with a knife and a baseball bat, made a forced entry into the residence. There was a direct threat to my life and the life of my daughter." The detective nodded, writing, "The situation was crystal clear." Andrew and his accomplices were taken first to the emergency room. Andrew had a broken nose and jaw from his conversation with his father-in-law. The others had non-critical gunshot wounds, and from there, directly to county jail. The charge was robbery with a deadly weapon, a first-degree felony. For Andrew, this was the point of no return. Later that day, Clara went to the police station to give her official statement. There, she saw her husband for the first time since that night. He was being led down a hallway in handcuffs, his face swollen and bandaged, a massive black eye blooming under the plaster. He limped. Seeing Clara, he lunged toward her. "Clara! Clara, please drop the charges!" he yelled, spittle flying from his lips. "I didn't want to. They made me. Those scumbags. I just wanted to talk to you." An officer yanked him back. "That's enough. Clara, we have a son. Think about Leo. Do you want him to have a convict for a father?" Clara stopped. She looked him straight in the eye. "Leo doesn't have a father," she said, her voice quiet but carrying down the entire corridor. "A father is someone who protects his family. You're the one who brought armed thugs to your sleeping wife." She turned and walked into the detective's office. Inside, the lead detective showed her the interrogation report. "Your husband, Mr. Reed, is cooperating fully," the detective smirked. "He's singing like a canary." He turned on his accomplices immediately, and he also gave a statement against his mother, Tamara Reed. "What?" "He claims it was her idea to take out the payday loans in your name. Says she found your old phone, got the security codes, and filled out the applications herself while he just stood by. We'll see if it's true. We've subpoenaed her phone records. If we find a digital trail, she'll be charged as an accessory to fraud." Tamara had no idea her son had sold her out. She was sitting on a park bench, using a grocery bag to shield her head from the rain. The motel had kicked her out. Her money was gone. Andrew had disappeared during the night and wasn't answering his phone. She was alone, hungry, angry, and scared. "Where is that idiot?" she thought. Did he really just abandon his mother and run off with some money? Her phone buzzed in her pocket. An unknown number. "Hello? Is this Tamara Reed?" a gruff male voice asked. "Yes. Who is this?" "This is a debt recovery agency. Your son, Andrew Reed, listed you as a co-signer on a loan. The outstanding balance is $20,000. Payment was due yesterday. When can we expect it?" "I didn't borrow anything!" Tamara shrieked. "He did. Go after him." "It's difficult to go after him, ma'am. He's currently in police custody," the collector said calmly. "But you're not. And your name is on the contract. So the debt is now yours. We know you don't own property, but we know you receive Social Security benefits. Expect a court order to garnish your payments. 50%. Tamara dropped the phone. In custody. Andrew was in jail, and his debts were on her. Her Social Security, her only lifeline, would be cut in half. "Damn you, Clara," she wailed, scaring the pigeons. "This is all your fault, you witch." She decided to go for broke. She had nothing left to lose. She knew the address of the hospital where her grandson was. Clara was visiting Leo. He had been moved from the NICU to a regular crib. He was gaining weight, eating on his own. The doctor said, "Get ready, he'll be home in a couple of days." Clara was feeding him from a bottle, marveling at his tiny fingers. Suddenly, there was a commotion in the hallway, shouting, "Let me through! I'm his grandmother. I have rights." Clara recognized the voice. She ran into the hall. Tamara was fighting with security at the entrance to the wing. She looked terrible, disheveled, in a dirty coat, with wild eyes. "Where is my grandson?" she screamed, trying to push past the guard. "Give me the child. His mother is a drug addict. His father's in jail. I'm his legal guardian." The guard held her arm. "Ma'am, please calm down. Have you been drinking?" "I'm sober, I demand." Seeing Clara, she froze, then lunged. You put my son in jail. You ruined my life." She tried to hit Clara, to claw at her hair, but Clara was not alone. Frank stepped up from behind. He simply grabbed Tamara's wrist, squeezing hard until she yelped. "Ow! That hurts." "Hurts?" her father asked coldly. "Wasn't so painful when you were robbing a pregnant woman, was it? Or throwing her out of her own home?" He shoved her toward the exit. "Get out of here. If I see you near my daughter or my grandson again, I'll make sure you get a cell right next to your son for accessory to fraud." Andrew has already given a full confession about how you were the one who took out the loans. Tamara froze. Andrew had betrayed her. Her sweet Andrew, the son she sold her home for, the son she committed crimes for. She looked at Clara. The malice in the old woman's eyes was gone, replaced by animal terror. She turned and shuffled toward the exit, stooped, broken, and utterly alone. The next day, Clara and Frank went to the bank to deal with the fraudulent loans. Clara brought the police report documenting the identity theft and her hospital records, proving she was in recovery, often unconscious, when the loans were taken out. The bank manager studied the documents and nodded. The situation is clear. We will freeze all interest accrual. After the court case officially establishes guilt, the debt will be cleared from your name and legally transferred to Mr. Reed. Your credit history will be corrected. And the $7,000 he stole? The manager spread his hands. We'll pursue that through a civil judgment. But as you can imagine, he won't be earning much in prison. I don't care about the money, Clara said, as long as I don't owe it. That evening, they prepared for Leo's homecoming. The apartment was pristine. Frank, a handyman in his own right, had already fixed the door, and they had painted the nursery a simple, calming blue. He'd bought a new crib, even nicer than the first one. Clara's mom had cooked a celebratory dinner. The doorbell rang. It was a delivery. For Clara Davis. She was surprised. She hadn't ordered anything. Inside the box was a new, top-of-the-line laptop and a note. Honey, get back to work. Build your beautiful buildings. You're a talent. Love, Dad. Clara burst into tears. She had lost a husband, her illusions, and money. But in their place, she had gained a fortress of protection she had never dreamed of. And somewhere, in a 10-man cell in county jail, Andrew Reed lay on a bunk, staring at the ceiling. He had no visitors. His mother never came. She was afraid of being arrested and was hiding out in homeless shelters. The other inmates already knew his story. A rat who stole from his own family. They treated him accordingly. He thought about his warm condo, the smell of Clara's cooking, her smile. He had traded it all for a betting app, cheap vodka, and his mother's poisonous delusions. He closed his eyes. He had a long, long time ahead of him to think about what he had done. 3 years later, the district court was packed. The case of the Reeds had become a minor local sensation, the son and mother who robbed the pregnant daughter-in-law. Local news reporters sat in the front row. In the defendant's box sat Andrew. 6 months in pre-trial detention had changed him. He was thin, his head was shaved, and his eyes were hollow and bitter. Tamara sat on the defendant's bench. She was charged as an accomplice in the fraud case but had been out on bail. She looked 10 years older, dressed in a cheap raincoat, her gray roots showing. Clara sat across from them, calm. Next to her, a rock, sat her father. The judge began reading from the case file. The defendant, Andrew Reed, acting in concert with his mother, Tamara Reed, fraudulently obtained 8 personal loans in the victim's name, stole jewelry, and committed armed robbery. Then, the final statements began, and all hell broke loose. Andrew shot to his feet, grabbing the bars of the cage. Your Honor, I ask you to consider mitigating circumstances. I was acting under duress. My mother, she forced me, she said. Take out loans on your wife. She's rich. She'll pay it back. She found the phone. She dictated the information. I just pushed the buttons. I am a victim of manipulation. A stunned silence fell over the courtroom. Tamara slowly rose to her feet, her face turning blotchy red. You bastard, she hissed. I forced you? I sold my condo to pay off your gambling debts. I'm homeless because of you, and you're blaming your mother? She turned to the judge. Your Honor, he's lying. He's an addict. He lost everything. He stole his wife's ring and didn't even tell me. He hit me, demanding money. Lock him up and let him rot. You're the thief, Andrew screamed back. You're the one who pawned Clara's gold, and you drank the money away. It was a disgusting, pathetic spectacle. Mother and son, tearing each other apart to save their own skins, revealing every ugly secret, every theft, every betrayal. Clara watched them and felt only one thing: revulsion. How could she have ever lived with this man? How could she have ever called that woman Mom? Frank placed his hand over hers. Don't look, honey. The rat race is over. The verdict: Andrew Reed, found guilty of armed robbery, fraud, and larceny. By concurrent sentencing, the court imposes a sentence of 8 years in state prison. Tamara Reed, found guilty as an accessory to fraud and larceny. Considering her age and lack of prior convictions, she is sentenced to 3 years of probation. The civil claims are granted in full. The defendants are ordered to pay, jointly and severally, the sum of $7,000 for the fraudulent loans, plus the value of the stolen jewelry. Parental rights of Andrew Reed terminated in respect to his son, Leo Davis. Grounds: commission of a violent felony against a family member and moral turpitude. As Andrew was led out, he tried to catch Clara's eye. "Clara, I'll write to you. I love you." Clara didn't even turn her head. Tamara walked out of the courtroom alone. No one approached her. Her son was going to prison. Her daughter-in-law and grandson were lost to her forever. She had no home, no money. She had only her Social Security, half of which would now be garnished by the state. Present day: a sunny weekend at the city park. A 3-year-old boy with blonde hair, sturdy, and dressed in a stylish denim jumpsuit, ran down the path. "Leo, not too far," Clara called, sitting on a bench with a book. "I'm going to Grandpa!" the little boy squealed happily. Frank was walking toward him, holding 2 huge ice cream cones. "Reinforcements have arrived." He scooped his grandson up into his arms. "All right, champ, strawberry or chocolate fudge?" "Both," Leo laughed. Clara watched them and smiled. Life had settled into a beautiful rhythm. She had completely renovated the condo. No trace of the past remained. It was bright, cozy, and Leo adored his room. She had returned to her career, even opening her own small architectural firm. Business was booming, and she had met someone. His name was Alex. He was a fire department captain, calm, reliable, a man of few words, like her father. He didn't promise her the moon, but he fixed the leaky faucet, taught Leo how to ride a bike, and never once asked how much her manicure cost. They were planning a wedding for the fall. Clara stood up to walk toward her son. Suddenly, she noticed a woman on a nearby bench, hunched over. Next to her was a cart with sanitation equipment, a broom, a dustpan, black trash bags. The woman wore the orange vest of a city worker. She was old, with deep wrinkles and worn-out sneakers, greedily eating a pastry and washing it down with milk from a carton. Clara recognized her. It was Tamara. The former matriarch who had demanded a bedroom and thrown out baby furniture was now sweeping the streets of the very park where her grandson played. She was living, as Clara had heard it was a small town, in a dormitory for municipal workers. A room for 4, roaches, a shared kitchen. Her garnished Social Security wasn't even enough for her medications. Tamara looked up. She saw Clara, beautiful and elegant in an expensive coat. She saw Frank, tossing a laughing little boy in the air. The old woman's gaze darted to the child. Her grandson, her blood, he looked so much like Andrew as a boy, only happy and healthy. Tamara flinched, as if to stand up and approach them. "Leo," her lips moved, but just then a foreman walked up to her. "Reed, what are you doing sitting around? The trash can by the fountain is overflowing. You want to lose your bonus?" Tamara shuddered. She looked at Clara one last time. In her eyes was a plea for forgiveness, or maybe for a $20 bill. Clara met her gaze. Nothing stirred inside her. Not anger, not pity, just emptiness. As if she were looking at a stranger, or at nothing at all. Clara turned back to her son. "Leo, Daddy Alex is here. Look, that's his car." The boy dropped his ice cream, which splattered on the pavement, and ran toward the parking lot, where Alex was getting out of his car with a giant teddy bear. "Daddy! Daddy!" Tamara saw it all. Daddy Alex. Her grandson had another father, a real one. And her son was rotting in prison, writing her letters filled with curses and demands for cigarettes. She slowly stood up, picked up her broom, and walked toward the overflowing trash can to sweep up the garbage. She had turned her own life into garbage, and now all that was left was to clean it up for the rest of her days. That evening, putting Leo to bed, Clara found a letter in her mailbox with no return address, postmarked from a state penitentiary. "Clara, I know you're happy. I saw your pictures on social media. One of the guys here has a phone. You look beautiful. As for me, I have tuberculosis. The doctor says it's damp in here. Mom doesn't write. Clara, please, could you send me some warm socks and a photo of Leo? I am his father, after all. Clara read the letter, walked over to the electric fireplace she had recently designed and installed, and tossed the envelope into the fake flames. The paper flared, curled into black ash, and vanished. Leo has a father, she said aloud. He doesn't need any socks. She kissed her sleeping son, turned off the light, and went into the living room, where Alex and her dad were waiting. They were playing chess and arguing about sports. The house smelled of apple pie. It was warm. It was safe. This was happiness real. Hard-won. And now, reserved only for her own. Dear listeners who have accompanied me until the end of my story, how did you find today's tale? I'm curious about the impression it has left in your hearts and the thoughts it has sparked in you. Please feel free to share your impressions and opinions in the comments. I will carefully read each of them. The likes and subscriptions you give me are the greatest source of strength and motivation for creating better stories in the future. Please don't forget to do so. I sincerely wish that your life is always filled with happiness and good fortune, and that the warm light in your hearts never fades.